Now, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. It is the 100th chapter of Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, and I have to say it's pretty good. Hello there, YouTubers and subscribers. RoseRed17 here, and this is Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, Volume 12, Chapters 100 to 108. First off, we get this beautiful color panel of all the characters in their battle scenes, including Selene watching them. And next is the start of the battle between Natsu and Suzaku. And I will admit, the fight is pretty good. You can see Natsu finding a way to defend himself from Suzaku's attack and gets the upper hand when Suzaku can't draw his sword because of the narrow space in the labyrinth. However, Suzaku managed to get his sword out and slashes Natsu, but the Dragon Slayer managed to block it once again. As the battle continues on, the two notice that the walls on the mazes are melting and surprise surprise, Igneel joined the party. That's one hell of a cliffhanger, makes me overjoyed to see what happens next. When Selene noticed that Igneel showed up in the next chapter, she decided to take her leave. Not sure where she's going, but we'll get back to her later. Because right now, I want to talk about what's happening here. Natsu asks Igneel what's he doing here, and Igneel replies to him saying that there's something he has to burn, leaving Natsu confused as Igneel told him that he doesn't cut it and decided to leave him. But Natsu, being the stubborn one, shouts out to him as Suzaku tries to stop him, but fails as Natsu starts to provoke him, or more like telling Suzaku about his job and that he is one of the foes that Natsu and his team must take down. Natsu willingly attacked Igneel but failed to do so, and Igneel showed the strength of his power, giving not only Natsu and Suzaku the taste of his flames, but everyone in the labyrinth are feeling the heat. Then, after leaving a giant hole in the ground, he disappeared. Natsu wants to go after him, but then Suzaku stopped him for being stupid and also told that the two still have their battle to finish. But Natsu refused and told they'd settle their fights another time, because Natsu told Suzaku that he must stop Igneel and protect his friends. Suzaku was moved by his words and decided to join forces with him. But Natsu refuses because he is being a reckless jerk right now. Dude, you just gained a powerful ally. No time to act selfish. But luckily, Suzaku managed to get Natsu to agree, and the two of them form a temporary duo. Meanwhile, there is Lucy and Kyria as they start their battles. Lucy managed to dodge Kyria's attack, but of course, managed to lose her clothes in the process. Okay, this is still what bothers me, and I started to get used to Lucy's, bad timing nakedness. And I don't want the stripping habit on Lucy because she is not gray. But thanks to her Star Dress ability, she transformed into her cancer form and sliced up Kyria's clothes. A little payback from our girl Lucy. Which is about time if you ask me, because Lucy has been losing her dignity way too many times. Lucy jokes around with Kyria being naked and offers her some clothes if she admits defeat. But Kyria refuses to lose and willing to fight Lucy butt-ass naked, as she is not ashamed since they're just women there. That until Loxus came, and then she feels ashamed. Okay, I have no idea where he came from, but I honestly don't care, so moving along. Loxus was kind enough to lend her his jacket, and Lucy felt bad for her as well. But Kyria wants to continue the fight with Lucy, but with Loxus by her side, she has a fighting chance. However, Kyria slices Loxus' strength. He is now bent to her will as she did the same thing to Erza, leaving Lucy to once again fight Kyria alone. And as you can see here, Lucy is getting hammered, losing her scissors weapon in the process, and decided to do the Star Dress combination of Leo and Virgo, which is the one combination that she uses the most, despite being the most powerful one that she can only use it once after the mix of the two magical powers. However, even with her mixed magic, Kyria's ability will slice through any type of magic, and it can also cut through flesh, as you can see the disturbing image of Lucy losing her arm. Talk about a brutal ending of a chapter, and with most people, I was shocked and terrorized of this image. And once I decided to write my script on this chapter, I didn't know what to say about this. I thought of my thoughts and feelings about this, and how should I present this to my viewers, and in the end, what I said before was my final result. And you know what else I thought about? I was thinking that this might not be Lucy in this image. this could be Gemini, and Lucy might have summoned them earlier before Kyria's attack at the moment. But this is just my own speculation on the matter, and thinking of the positive thoughts on this. However, if this was the real Lucy, then I am curious what's going to happen next, and how she will survive the trauma. But we'll have to wait and see, don't we? And to be honest, I'm a little nervous, and still can't get over this image. And I know there's a lot of you who hasn't gotten over this either. Well then, see you in the next chapter.
2 weeks later.
Phew, what a relief. It turns out it was Gemini that was attacked, and not only them, but her Elogium came as well and saved her. Gotta love these spirits, always helping Lucy in her time of need. Now that Lucy is back in action, she managed to find a way to defeat Kyria after getting beaten, realizing that her opponent is too strong for her to handle. But Loxus ends up protecting her even though he was under Kyria's spell, and he managed to give Lucy a talk about the bond they share with the guild. And those words gave Lucy the confidence she needs to stand up once again. She did a new Stardust combination of Aquarius and Gemini, which looks pretty sick if you ask me. And I have to say, this Stardust combination is unique, as it allows Lucy to create water clones to throw her enemies. While Kyria was slicing away every clone that came across her, Lucy was casting a spell with the help of Gemini, copying Yukino and Queen Hisui, defeating Kyria with the spell Godfrey, which was the spell that shows in the Celestial Filler arc, where the 3 girls used that spell to stop the spirits from their rampage. I never expect to see reference from that filler, which makes me very happy. But now in the end, Lucy claimed her victory as she falls to the ground with a smile on her face, and seeing the looks of these two and her success. And remember what I said in the last volume? Which comes to an upcoming battle which I felt both thrilled and disappointed. When you see the disappointment of this battle is how Kyria was taken out. Now don't get me wrong, it was unique and I loved it, but it just seemed a bit overpowered to me. That's all. And I am proud of Lucy of her efforts and growth. It's no wonder she became the most popular character. We see Loxus break free from Kyria's influence, as he knows both her and Lucy are on the ground, as Virgo's willing to explain to him what happened if she receives a punishment from him. But Loxus guessed that Lucy won, and recognized the growth of her strength. And on the next page, which is with Natsu and Suzaku walking along a path, as Natsu argues about not finding Igneel as he can't sniff him out. Suzaku has the same problem, but only because this was the first time they ever met. Therefore, he didn't get a trace of his scent. And Natsu mentioned that his scent is similar to his father Igneel. Suzaku questioned that little knowledge as Natsu told him that Igneel is his dad and Igneel is Igneel's real son. And then along the way, they ran into Happy as he embraced his father figure. And honestly, when I saw this, I was like, so adorable. Anyway, Natsu noticed Lucy wasn't with him and became concerned about her safety with Happy not being with her. Wait a minute. Natsu, you know Lucy can handle herself, right? You've seen her doing good in battles. You praise her for everything she has done. And now you're worried about her because Happy wasn't with her? Natsu, I know you have more faith in her than that. This seems a bit out of character for him, and I am glad he starts to think about the safety of his future wife. But never thought about her until Happy came back. But I will give him a pass because 1, he was preoccupied at the moment with these two, and 2, he didn't witness this. So a little disappointment with Natsu in this panel, but let us move on. Next is the battle between Erza and Misaki. And here we learn about Misaki's magic powers, and that she can transport others into her own blue dimension where she has control. And once Erza was sent back, she inflicted 5 hours of damage after being in that dimension for only 4 seconds. Now with Erza out of commission, Gray was about to take the stand, but Erza got back up to their surprise and worries. Misaki was also surprised that Erza survived and sent her and herself back into the blue dimension. But this will be 24 seconds. Misaki went in for an attack, but Erza dodged it. Erza magically influenced her armor, allowing her to move her body, as before she couldn't do it in this dimension. So she found a way to outmaneuver her opponent in their own world. As expected, the fight continued continues on, and seeing how Erza is going to win this one doesn't enlighten my interest, but it does trigger my curiosity. So let us see what happens. So as before, Erza is using her armor to move herself within a dimension space, since she can't move on her own will, and as long as she continues to equip her armor, she should be able to handle it. However, Misaki put a stop to her by chaining her up, and when Misaki was going for attack, Erza shielded herself with one of her armor shields as she realized they were just regular chains and not magic sealing stones. Erza freed herself, then enchanted her sword with her own magic, causing the dimension to turn red and give the final strike. The two fell to the ground as Erza took on the heavy damage from the blue dimension that Misaki inflicted upon her. But Wendy came to help Erza as her and Lily came at the nick of time, but couldn't fully heal Erza as the wounds were too great and Erza needed more time to recover. And then Gajo asked Lily who the kid was and realized that he was one of the foes that Wendy defeated but couldn't leave him behind. But then Wendy suggests he put him next to his comrade, but the little boy Haku woke up and jumped onto Wendy as it confirmed that he was awake the whole time, only to be knocked out by Gajo. Moving on to Virgo carrying Lucy after her fight with Kyria, but did she really have to tie herself to Lucy like that? I mean, just carrying her the normal way would be more satisfied, or have Loxus do it. But then again, this is Virgo we're talking about here, the spirit who enjoys some sort of punishment without Lucy's consent, and even Loxus feels sorry for Lucy for being around her. Next is Natsu and Suzaku discovering an underground cave. Natsu and Happy wish to explore, but Suzaku stops them. He says, for some time now, the atmosphere has grown thick with magic power with every level we deceive. Yeah, what about it? It means we may be close to the deepest depths. But Natsu doesn't listen and continues on in the cave as Suzaku tells him that he's been careless the whole time. But Natsu has set a goal in mind, and that he's been ready for a war since Igneel came into play. Both Natsu and Suzaku enter into the cave and notice the different airs within, and Natsu is still tracking Igneel's scent, and lo and behold, we see Igneel in the next panel at the core of Erza's heart. Apparently, Igneel and Daramag had a plan which involves the heart of the Law Dragon. Igneel took the heart, and then, to his surprise, Selene came from behind and attacked him, but Igneel defended himself. The heart of Erza, the Law Dragon. His heart from back when he was human, that is. He remembers where to find every single weapon made by man, and you were gonna use them to kill me and Varys. Truly, I never imagined you deceive the power of humans as well. I got no interest in those weapons, and I don't need this heart anymore either. Stop! Okay, this is confusing. Why destroy the heart when he needs it for his plan? Igneel is a strange and mysterious character, and also after reading this chapter, I'm starting to see Selene as more of a good guy. She wants humanity to live on and wants to kill off every last dragon alive, and Igneel wants the Age of Dragon to rise once again. And we all know that all dragons are not evil, but they still pose a threat to humans, and humans pose a threat to dragons. At this point, I'm not sure who I want to side with in this situation, as the two transform into their dragon forms with Natsu and Suzaku as their eyewitness. Both Igneel and Selene glare at each other as Natsu gets fired up to join the fight, but then after one blast from those two, Natsu, Suzaku, and Happy gets pushed back. So no fighting for you, Natsu. The two dragons had their brawl until suddenly Natsu started to have flashback of the death of his father Igneel as he continued to watch the fight between Igneel and Selene as they thrashed each other, and just before they bumped heads, Natsu screamed from the top of his lungs telling them to stop. It's pretty ironic for Natsu to want to join the fight with the dragons to getting them to stop because of the memories of his father's death. Shows that Natsu is still suffering from his loss. That is some PTSD right there. And Igneel had to make it worse by opening his mouth about the tragic and traumatizing event. Which begs the question, how did Igneel know that Natsu saw what happened? Of course, he might have heard about Igneel's defeated by Acnologia, but then he said that he knew all about it. His exact words were,
"What, did I remind you of when the old man died? I know all about it. Acnologia got him real good."
And that expression on his face, it's like he knew not to witness the whole thing.
"My old man was the strongest dragon, but Acnologia still killed him. But I'm different, Natsu. If it were me, I would have been Acnologia. Like this!"
Well, damn! she's dead. Igneel is such a bastard. As you can see, Natsu doesn't like what he did to Selene, who is still alive by the looks of it, but looks like she's not going to last, or maybe she will. I guess we'll have to see what happens. Natsu gets upset because he never liked people, or dragons, killing their own comrades. Yeah, I figure he'd say something like that, but I'm pretty sure it was mentioned before that all the dragon gods never had contact. I thought Natsu got mad for them fighting each other because it was a reminder of Igneel's death, not about killing one's comrade, which makes sense during this type of situation they're in, but I guess it would be out of character for Natsu, but there's nothing wrong with a little change. But anyways, after Igneel claims he has no comrades other than Daromak, they heard a voice and then the labyrinth started rumbling with everyone still trapped inside, and then it cuts to Loxus and Virgo still carrying Lucy, but then Kyria shows up wanting to finish his fight with Loxus, while Loxus told Virgo to leave while he stays and deal with him, which is a fight we will witness in the next volume. After Daruma revived from the ground as he awakened from his slumber, both Igneel and him seem to be buddies, and they talk about it's ready or promised land, which caught my curiosity. What were they planning, and what is this land they speak of? And one other thing I wanted to mention is that Igneel doesn't want Natsu to be killed and show him the world they created, which spikes my curiosity even further. What is this world and why? Well, we'll have to find out soon enough. So Igneel takes off and Natsu wanted to go after him, but then stopped by Daruma, and then transform him into his human form, claiming to be the creator of the labyrinth. Which isn't new to me since I already know who created the labyrinth. The question is, why was the labyrinth created? As questioned by Alsuria himself, why create the labyrinth when Daruma was using his heart to restore his own life force? The answers will come eventually. I do have to say, this is a really good one, and there's a lot of interesting concepts going on, and I think my favorite ones are Lucy versus the Kyria battle, Natsu going through an emotional phase, and Loxus. Now, throughout the entire volume, it is mostly battles, but then there is Igneel and his plan that is still unknown, and also a world that he and the Earth Dragon God created for Natsu to witness. That is something that caught my curiosity. What is this world that is creating, and why does Igneel want Natsu to see it? And to be honest, anything major in the story that involves Natsu will always catch my attention. Just like the whole Toka scenario got me interested until it turned out to be a misunderstanding. Let's hope nothing like that ever happens again. And with Igneel, never know what's going to happen. So instead of getting myself riled up for the next event, I will wait and see what will happen with Igneel and Natsu when the time comes. And with that, I'll end it here. But before I do that, I want to say what I've learned about the sequel. In fact, it wasn't meant to be a sequel at all, but a spin-off. A woman who goes by the name Mesa, a Japanese English translator, heard the whole conversation with Mashima and Uda on the Twitter space, and it was confirmed that 100-Year Quest was planned to be a spin-off at first, but then changed into a sequel. I don't remember much in that conversation, but I will say this. Whether it be a spin-off or a sequel, we the fairy tale fans will still enjoy it. Mashima has done some spin-offs before, even with other artists doing the drawing. But I think this is the first time he's actually done a sequel, at least to my knowledge. But if there was a story with a sequel created by Mashima, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. Well then everyone, thank you so much for watching, and if you are new here, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can also hit that notification button for more updates on my newest videos. And don't forget, you can check me out on Twitter, TikTok, and Discord. And I'll see you all in the next video. RoseRed17 out.